Hey guys, welcome back to Destin Reads Romance. I'm Destin and today I'm here with my most disappointing reads that I read during the year of 2021. I decided to do only 15 of them. Actually, it kind of just worked out that way. And I will also say that all 15 of them, that's not to say that these are the books that I rated the lowest throughout the year, because I had a lot more DNFs and 2 stars, whatever, that didn't make this list, but I just didn't care enough about them. So these are actually books that I might have had expectations for, and they fell flat for me. And yeah, a lot of these are popular. A lot of these I feel like I have an unpopular opinion about, and that's okay. But I'm for sure have never been one to hide my feelings about a book and why it didn't work for me, because maybe somebody felt the same as me, had the same nitpicky issues that just did not allow this book to be everything that I thought it was going to be, because everyone has a different reading experience, everyone has different reading taste. Not everyone's going to like the same book. Even if it's the most beloved book of all time, you will find people who won't like it. So if you liked any of these books, I'm not personally attacking you. It's totally fine that you really love them. I'm just going to talk about why I didn't. And you may have already heard me talk about this if you've watched any of my weekly wrap-ups during the year, so it's just like a rehash. Let's put them all together. They're in no particular order, so I'm just going to start with Tristans Venom by Penelope Douglas. I was very excited about this one. It's her first sapphic romance, and actually a few weeks before Tristans Venom came out, I decided to read Punk 57 because it was one of her books that I had not read before. And Punk 57 is sort of like a bullyish romance. I knew that Tristans Venom was going to be a bully romance, and I was like, let me go read this other beloved, Penelope Douglas. I loved Punk 57. I had no problem with it at all. So it's not that a bully trope bothers me, because it doesn't. I've read plenty of bully tropes. I've read some extreme bully tropes that didn't bother me, but Tristans Venom did not work for me at all. And the main reason why it did not is because Clay's character was unbearable for me. She was the bully character, but I just could not, there was certain things that Clay did that for me, I would not be able to get over. And her reasonings were very shallow. Why she was doing this. At least I got 50% of the way into this book. I got a lot further than I wanted to, but I was like, something's gotta happen. I like Penelope Douglas's writing style. Something has got to happen to make me fall in love with this character and start rooting for Olivia and Clay as a couple, and it didn't happen because I just could not get on board with Clay. She was so ruthless in her treatment of Olivia for her own personal reasons, more self-hatred than anything. And it just really broke my heart for Olivia, and I wanted better for her in a partner. So that's why I didn't like Tristans Venom, and I know that I'm in the minority when I say that, but it was one of my least favorite Penelope Douglases that I've ever read. Very, very disappointed and very sad, because it was a sapphic romance that I was looking forward to reading. Next I have By Sin I Rise by Cora Riley Part 1. Now Part 2 is out, and I am not reading it because I hated By Sin I Rise so freaking much. I don't know what's happening really, and I have a theory, but first I'm going to talk about By Sin I Rise, and then I'll talk more about Cora Riley's writing style and my love or lack of love for it. So By Sin I Rise is a spin-off of her Born in Blood series, as well as the Kimura Chronicles. It's some of their next generation. The children are now grown up. They're in their 20s, and some of them are going to be paired together. The heroine, Marcella, is the daughter of a very feared capo who is head of the Italian mafia in New York. And Marcella is the princess of the mafia. She's very coddled. She wants to be involved with her dad's business, and I really thought that Luca would have sort of a Hayward new generation of mafia. Some things will change, but he really does behave a little bit old school. And Luca has this crazy badass reputation for being a mountain of a man and being able to rip people apart literally with his bare hands, literally tear them apart. Anyway, he retaliated against this motorcycle group years ago, and that's where our hero comes into play. Maddox, he is the son of one of the motorcycle gangs. He was the vice president, and his uncle is still the president of that motorcycle gang, and they have vowed revenge on Luca. Marcella becomes part of that plan. She gets kidnapped. She gets treated like crap, but Maddox as a hero felt extremely weak to me. Marcella's character was very strong, but oh my gosh, some of the dialogue really killed this book. It was so cheesy, like so cheesy. There were some lines where I'm just like, I don't understand why it's so dramatic. Like nobody actually would say this in real life, because you would laugh in someone's face if they said something like this. Like it's just so out there. Nobody talks like that, you know? It was very dramatic, very I will rise from the ashes, I'm a queen type of talk, that it's just like sometimes we think something sounds really good, but once we actually read it, it's not. And that's how I felt about the majority of the dialogue for this book. I felt like it was the author trying really hard to make a more dramatic mafia story. I don't know. And it did not work for me. Luca, having this reputation, felt extremely neutered in this situation. His daughter is literally kidnapped from a motorcycle club. And like this motorcycle club really isn't that powerful. Luca is that powerful. And he gets, I'm sorry if this is a spoiler. It's a minor spoiler. But Luca gets nowhere close to rescuing his own daughter. Like he has to be told where she is. And I'm just like, I wanted him to burn the world looking for his daughter. And then the whole ending was so cheesy. It was so contrived. This did not need to be a duet. This did not need to be a duet. And I was incredibly disappointed in everything about this book. Incredibly disappointed in everything about this book. Now let's talk about Cora Riley in general. So I've read her Born in Blood series and I like some of the books in there. I had issues with a lot of her characters, like something that Luca did in his book. Didn't love. I had issues with some of the heroines in that book as well for being too meek and mild and stuff like that. And it wasn't really until I got into her Kimura Chronicles, which were the ones that were actually recommended to me, but I wanted to read the Born in Blood series since they're connected. And Twisted Loyalties, really love that one. Had a slight thing at the end that bothered me, but I love that one. Twisted Emotions blows my mind. I really love Nino and Kiara. I thought it was such a different story. I was like, wow, she's really like going someplace where I never expected her to go, and I love it. And then Twisted Pride was very taboo. Ramo was such a crazy hero, and I loved it because she really committed to Ramo being like a really crazy hero, and I love Serafina. And those three books are the standouts for Cora Riley in general for me. Then after that, it went all downhill, and I really think that at least after reading her most recent published books, I think that maybe those three, Twisted Emotions, Twisted Pride, Twisted Loyalties, I think those may be the exception to the rule when it comes to Cora Riley's writing style and how I respond to how she writes. I think that those are the exceptions. Those are the ones that I really love. But in general, Cora Riley is not like my favorite writer, and for sure her last few I've really disliked, like a lot. So anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. Next is Don't Kiss the Bride by Carrie Cole. I love Carrie Cole's writing style. I love her Ashes and Ember series, and Torn and Tide are some of my favorite books by her, period. And Torn and Tide were like kind of spur of the moment, let me go and write something that inspired me, because she was supposed to be writing the Ashes and Ember series. But Torn is tied into Ashes and Ember's world. It's an age gap and taboo because it's a family friend uncle figure and his best friend's daughter situation, and I love that. And Tide was just so freaking beautiful. Just, I loved it so much. So I had high expectations going into Don't Kiss the Bride. I knew it was going to be age gap. She teased it a lot, like this is another age gap. It just really fell flat for me in the chemistry department. I didn't love Jude and Skylar with this arranged marriage of convenience trope. I didn't love their chemistry. And I can't help but compare it to Torn, because in Torn I felt like, though there was a huge age gap, like 15 years, there was a huge age gap, but I felt like at least Kenzie, the heroine in that one, she felt mature. She felt like she had gone through a lot, and it made her mature. Not that Skylar, the heroine of Don't Kiss the Bride, hadn't gone through a lot, but she just seems a little bit more teenagery, you know? And it was very hard for me to see her and Jude together. The scenes where they were together, it felt so random, like there was no build up to it. It was just like, we're hooking up. And then of course he felt guilty about it after, and so he'd push her away, and there was a lot of that. There was a lot of getting together because I can't resist you and then pushing you away, and I really did not like the way that that played out, because it really wasn't, I don't know, I guess the whole excuse was age gap, very wrong, even though everyone's an adult in this book. And it just didn't feel like a compelling enough reason for them to push each other away, or for Jude to push her away. I also didn't love some of the external conflict that happened in this book either. So yeah, it really was quite disappointing for me. It just did not work out the way that I had hoped that it would. Then I have The Devil's Own Duke by Lenora Bell. I really love the first book in the series, Love is a Rogue. And it continues with the same group of women who are all wallflowers, and they're trying to be like a little bit scandalous. They're a little bit beyond the norm, which happens a lot nowadays in historical romance. We have lots of unconventional heroines, and in this case, Lady Henrietta, her father has kind of like ruined the estate, and she's holding on by a thread because she wants to keep the property in their family. Her mother, who was French, brought over grapes to start a vineyard, and Henrietta's dream is to be known for her sparkling wine, because apparently in the wine community, everyone turns their nose up at English sparkling wine because champagne is like the best ever, and Italian wine and all that jazz. So Henrietta just thinks that it's snobby people looking down, even though her wine's like really great. And then we have Ash, and Ash has like a grudge against all aristocracy, and he is posing as like the long lost relative of Lady Henrietta, which would mean that he would inherit her father's title. Her father's like really happy about this, and also is like thinks it's great that Ash wants to marry Lady Henrietta. I didn't feel the chemistry from these characters at all. I felt like it was so lacking, especially when I compared it to Love is a Rogue again. And maybe some of you are like, maybe you need to stop comparing it to other books that the author has written. And I'm like, how do you do that? You look forward to a book from an author that you've read before because you know that they write something really great, that they do something really amazing with their characters, and you do expect something from them. So it's very hard to not compare. But I just felt instant chemistry with Love is a Rogue and those characters. These characters, I was like, it's so stale, it's dry as a piece of toast. I'm missing the fireworks between these characters, and I'm not getting it. I didn't love Lady Henrietta's character. Ash was a very lackluster hero. I thought his role in the story would be a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more devil may care, and I don't know, he just felt like a very disappointing historical romance hero. So I didn't love that one. Next is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I did not like this at all. I found a lot of similarities with characters and the types of characters that they were with Lore Olympus, and Lore Olympus is a webcomic if you have not seen me talk about this before. Lore Olympus is written by Rachel Smith, and this Hades and Persephone romance has been going on for years, but as a serialized webcomic. It has really been the bar that I have set extremely high in terms of Hades and Persephone romances. So when I picked up Scarlett St. Clair's book, knowing that it was Hades and Persephone, I was very excited because it's been rare that I've actually read a romance novel, like a novel, not a webcomic, that really did everything that I wanted Hades and Persephone romances to do for me. And I picked it up and I was just like, man, they're meeting in a very similar way to Hades and Persephone from Lore Olympus. Man, the Adonis character is very similar to the Apollo character in Lore Olympus. Minthy's character, even her position, even her role in Hades' life professionally was the same. And it just felt so similar, and yet it lacked the magic that I was looking for. Or it didn't distinguish itself enough as something completely new and a different take on Hades and Persephone romances and like situationally. And it might have been to other people. And I'm not saying that this was like ripped off from Lore Olympus or anything. I know that the series goes on. I don't know how many books it actually has after this one, but it just did not work for me. I was very disappointed in it, and everyone was really raving about it. I was really excited, but it just it didn't do anything for me. And I remember not liking Persephone's character. Like she just didn't have the same appeal for me as Persephone from Lore Olympus. Okay, next, another book that was really hyped for me, Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. And I actually read this while I was very sick during the summer with the virus. And honestly, I can't even believe that I still was reading at that time because I was like very feverish and everything, but I was like, I'm so bored, I gotta read something. So it's funny thinking back on my reading experience of Her Soul to Take. But again, like it was lacking. So Her Soul to Take, the way that I heard everyone talking about it. It was like a darker romance with like a demon character, and it was just really like cool, like very like edgy kind of, and I didn't get any of that at all whenever I picked up her Soul to Take. I didn't love Ray's character. At times during the book, I felt like she was being willfully obtuse. Like I was like, this is such an obvious thing that you're not picking up on. I don't understand why. Why? Like you're supposed to be, like she actually investigates like paranormal activity. This is her YouTube job, you know, that she has a whole business built up on this, and there were certain things that she wasn't picking up on. I'm like, you're supposed to do this like professionally, and you're missing a lot of hints about people in this community, and you're just not picking up on it. So it really annoyed me. And then Leo, again, I wanted like a more dangerous type of character. Not Leo, Leon. I wanted a more dangerous character from my demon character. I don't know, like he just felt very, I don't know. It was very lackluster. It was a very lackluster read for me. And I know that Jen wants me to read the second one, which I think is about a different couple, but I just don't, the whole world around it just didn't inspire me at all. It wasn't just the characters, the whole entire world that just did not work for me. So yeah, it just wasn't that great. Okay, and this one makes me so sad. Archangels Light by Nalini Singh. Nalini Singh is one of my favorite authors of all time. Okay? I love her Side Changeling series, and the books that she's still writing in it, I still really love. Like I love Last Guard. The Guild Hunter series, which this is a part of the Guild Hunter series, is a little bit hit or miss. Some books I like more than others. Others I'm just kind of like, that one's okay, but it's just not as great as But Archangels Light, these characters, getting them together, I've been waiting for this ever since Aiden Sparkles has shown up on the scene, and we knew that something tragic has happened, and we saw Bluebell, Ilium's reaction to, this is my friend that I haven't seen for centuries because he had such a traumatic experience in his past that he won't let anyone get close to him. And like I could feel the potential for that relationship, and that has been going on for over 5 books. Like I'm telling you, this relationship has been teased for so long. So yeah, I had expectations for it. The Guild Hunter series is not an incredibly romantic series. It's more of a fantasy series, more focused on like the action and world building and stuff. But for sure, Nalini Singh does have a romantic plot line in every single one of her books. So I was expecting that there to be romance in this book, and there was not. And I did not care about the actual plot line to do with the world and the after effects of the war, and I didn't care. I did not care about anything. The threats that are happening at this time felt very repetitive. I've said this for a couple of books now that I'm just like, the villain character has got to go. And we kind of got a new villain character in this one, maybe, but it's still so tied to the old villain character that I'm just like, it still feels very samey. I want a new type of threat. I want some more years to pass or something, because this is kind of ridiculous at this point. Beat a dead horse, like, oh, are we gonna resurrect this again? Anyway, I'm tired of it. But my most disappointing thing out of Archangel's Light is the fact that I did not get my epic romance with Ilium and Aiden. And someone had messaged me, thank you for letting me know, because I was avoiding Nalini Singh's newsletters that she sends out, because she sends out like snippets of the book ahead of time for her people who are subscribed to her newsletter, and I didn't want to read anything before I did Archangel's Light. It was one of my most anticipated reads. So I didn't see that she said like it's the beginning of their relationship, but I'm just like, why? I felt like the whole book was a wasted opportunity because it didn't even have a strong plot going for it. So why not include the majority of the courtship in this book if really there was nothing truly significant happening in the world at large? So I do feel like it was a wasted book. It was a wasted book for nothing. They've already been circling each other for so many books. They didn't need to circle each other for 99% of the book and just give me like a little epilogue where I'm just like, wow, that's it? Wow. So yeah, I was mad. And I can't deny it. And I'm very sad because I love Nalini Singh and I'm very sad about it. Okay, next. Hollow Heathens by Nicole Fiorina. Again, a book that was very hyped, especially during the Halloween season, and I really did like the overall world that was set up, that this was kind of like a secret community of Wiccans, and there was 2 different factions in there, and our heroine Fallon, she had been raised away from that, and after her father died, she gets an invitation from her grandfather to go to this town, and we see like some minor magical elements starting to affect Fallon, like whenever she gets there, like she can't leave and stuff like that. But she, someone who has grown up away from magic, doesn't believe magic exists, accepts this magic thing without like even questioning it. It was just so simple for her. And I was like, I wanted a little bit more like, wow, how does this work? What is happening? What is my history? Can I do stuff? And that was one of the things that really bothered me, because she is presented as a character who's like, magic? What magic? There's magic? Like, I know no magic. And in the middle of the book, she casually mentions, oh yeah, well, sometimes I see dead people. And I'm like, that would have been something to introduce in the beginning of the book when the character is actually being established. That I've always had this weird quirk about me, so I kind of feel like I fit into this town. That was not established at the beginning. It was thrown in the middle, and I did not like that. Also, I was very invested in the hollow heathens themselves, because they were 4 men who are cursed and they wear these masks about town. I really was invested in that curse, and also their powers. I felt like that was underexplored and underutilized. It felt very YA. Very high school-y, and they're adults. They are adult characters. And I was just like, they don't do anything besides hang out at a bar. They don't ever go to work. Like, it just feels so like beyond reality in this book. So I was bored for a lot of it. And the thing that happened in the end was very convenient and just not surprising at all. So it was very disappointing for me. Then I have All Rhodes Lead here by Mariana Zapata. I loved the premise of this book, and I really liked Aurora's character and the reason why she was going back to her hometown, and the connection that she wanted to feel for her mother, who had disappeared years ago. They would hike trails together, and one time her mom would go hike by herself and disappeared, and her body was never found. And Aurora had always kind of wondered, did her mom leave her on purpose? Because her mom was depressed, and so she never knew, was that something that she did purposefully? Or did she really just get lost on a trail and never could make it home? So it's like those types of questions, and I was so invested in her character and that type of stuff. And I really love the setup where she is renting this above garage apartment from this guy, and she gets there, and it turns out his son Amos, Rhodes' son Amos, was the one to rent out that garage because he wanted some little extra cash to be able to buy some musical instruments that his dad was like not letting him buy. And Rhodes is a grumpy hero, and I love grumpy heroes, but this book, sometimes I wonder if Mariana Zapata lately has been writing books of a certain length because it's expected of her, because I don't feel like this book needed this amount of pages. I was very bored towards the halfway point, and also I felt like, even though Mariana Zapata was known for her slow burn, simmering romance, there also was a very, to me, obvious lack of tension between the 2 characters. I wanted more tension, because that's what makes a slow burn exciting, is because there's tension. We see the potential. We see like the almost, like, oh, they almost kissed. Ooh, that's like a brush of a hand. And that creates tension. And I was very much lacking that. They felt like such buddies, and that's not a bad thing for them to feel like best friends or anything, but it really did feel like such a buddy thing that I was missing the tension. And I didn't feel satisfied by the end when they were together, because it felt so sudden, because there was no tension. I was bored because there was just a lack of anything else going on besides like basically their relationship. And mostly I was interested in Amos, who's the son. I was interested in his relationship with his father and his backstory and his love of music. That's mostly what interests me, and that's really not a great thing when it comes to romance. So yeah, it's my least favorite Mariana Zapata that I have read. It's at the bottom of my list for Mariana Zapata. I would not want to reread this again at all. And at first I thought maybe I'm not too much into slow burn romance anymore, which technically I'm not. But I also had recently reread, a couple months before All Rhodes Lead here, I reread a couple of Mariana Zapata's, and they still impacted me the same way that they did when I first read them. So it's not that. It's not that. It's just this book didn't work for me. Then I have Dead Man Walking by Gianna Darling. Okay, Gianna Darling is another author, just like Cora Riley, that is hit or miss. I either really love her books or I really dislike them. And the Fallen Men series is a series where I'm like, I don't like this book, but I love this book. I don't like this book, but I love this book. And that's how it went for me. I really liked Welcome to the Dark Side. It was an age gap, kind of taboo, that whole dynamic between them. I loved Inked in Lies. Inked in Lies was so good. And then this one just really did not work. Mostly to do with Bee's character, the heroine. She's so young and she has this weird obsession with dangerous men. She's always had an attraction to Priest, who is a psychopath. He's like the killer of the motorcycle group. If they need someone dead, Priest is gonna do it because he has an obsession with killing and knife play and blood. So Bee is like, I want him. But Priest is like, no, little girl, you don't want me. Like, I'm not going to taint you with all this. I can't love anybody. You're looking in the wrong direction. So Bee is just like apathetic. She's supposed to be like this perfect little person because like her dad's the mayor or whatever. And she's expected to go out with like these buttoned up Ivy League guys. She does go on a date with this guy and she finds him so bored. Like, she is bored to tears by this guy. She's just looking at him just being like, no, I can't even pretend to like him. Then she learns that he's doing something a little bit shady, like dealing drugs at a little frat party, and all of a sudden she's like, he is hot to me now. I am wet for him because he's so dangerous now. And I'm just like, wow. Wow. I couldn't take B seriously after that, and I had to DNF this book because just her reason, if she reacted to a random person who she thought was so bland before learning that he did some semi-shady things, but him doing the shady things was the only thing that worked for her, and she was willing to like be with him, maybe fuck him, I don't know. We didn't get that far because of something that happened in the book, but I was like, then how do I know that her feelings for Priest are real, or just because it's like this is the ultimate dangerous bad guy because he's literally like a serial killer? So is she attracted to Priest or is she attracted to danger? I thought she was attracted to danger. It made me really lower my opinion of B, and I just really disliked it, so I had to DNF this book. I couldn't even finish it. And I was looking for another amazing age gap relationship like, you know, Welcome to the Dark Side or Inked in Lies, and I just didn't get that. Okay, next is The Obsession by Nikki Sloan. And interestingly enough, like, I know that this series is hit or miss with people. I've heard that before. But interestingly enough, I've heard that it's the initiation that normally turns people off before they even get to the obsession. Not so with me. I read the initiation. I was like, intriguing. I like this. This is cool. This is a little bit interesting, a little bit taboo, and I'm okay with it. I knew, I was forewarned that there was some taboo-ish things going on in the initiation, so I was expecting it, and I was like, okay. All right. The obsession just took a turn that I didn't love, and I really hate the character that everyone loves in the series. I'm not a McAllister fan, and everyone seems to be, and I really find his character kind of gross. And I really, really, really disliked Maris' response to McAllister. Okay, so I'm reading The Obsession, not loving that Maris, who I really liked in the initiation. I thought that she had some balls, and she also had this savviness about her, navigating these powerful men who were trying to control her lives because their lives were shit and she was being a pawn, but she was using whatever power that she could to get what she wanted. And I liked that about her, and I felt like all of that power was gone in the obsession, that she always thought that she had the upper hand, but she never did, and I felt that so hard. So I was very disappointed in her character. I didn't like McAllister at all. And I had, yeah. So after reading The Obsession, I was like, is it worth it for me to continue in this series? So I did go on Goodreads and I did read spoiler reviews for the next book in the series. And I was like, I don't want to continue with the series. So yeah, I don't think I will do it. But Jen wants me to read McAllister's book, and I don't want to, but that is a book that I said that I would read as part of, these are books that I said that I would never read, and you can make me read them if you so choose. I was supposed to do that vlog around Thanksgiving time. That never happened, but maybe during the summer whenever I actually have like a lot of free time to be able to do that. It's just hard for me to want to read books that I really don't want to read. but I'm just interested if maybe this would be the exception to the rule, especially since I hate McAllister so much. So I don't know how that would work out. Then we have the Casanova by T.L. Swan. I had a lot of expectations for this book because The Takeover is such a standout book in my mind. But again, I'm going to group T.L. Swan with Cora Riley and Gianna Darling, where she has a few standout books that I really love, but I just feel like at this point, she just might have a couple books that are the exceptions to the rule for me, because I didn't like any of the books that I read by her, which were independently published, which I started the Stanton Adora series. That was way too dramatic for me. I didn't love the Italian at all, and I think I DNF play along. But I loved The Stopover, and I loved The Takeover. The Takeover is like top tier, one of my favorite romances, and so I was very excited for the Casanova because there's something about Elliot and his obsession with this artist who nobody's ever actually seen her face. She's rumored to be like this old woman actually, but then there's this blonde that shows up to a couple art shows, and one time in The Takeover we see Elliot actually try to follow her out, and so I was like, ooh, this is going to be interesting. So I feel like T.L. Swan really did build up Elliot's story beforehand, so I did have more expectations than normal. And when I started the book, I was just kind of like, it feels weird where this book starts off for me. It's like an office romance, an office hate to love romance between Kate and Elliot. Kate works in his office and they have an antagonistic relationship. They've never liked each other. There was like a bad first impression, and Kate never felt the need to try to get Elliot on her good side and likes to antagonize him even more. And I just felt like there was things that were hidden about characters on purpose for the sake of a plot twist that didn't work for me in a fluid storytelling manner, you know? So there were some really good parts that I liked. I really did enjoy their relationship once they were in a relationship, but then there was a third act conflict that it didn't work for me. And it worked for a lot of people, but for me, I was just very disappointed in the way that T.L. Swan chose to do that reveal and plot twist thing. I was like, no, that's a miss for me. And it was just personal opinion. Miss did not like the way that played out. But this could have been an okay book for me. But really, it was the plot twist at the end that turned me way off. So, but I didn't love it compared to The Stopover and The Takeover. Like, even if you take away that plot twist, I didn't love it like I loved The Takeover at all. So there's that. Then we have Homecoming King by Penny Reed. And I didn't hate this book, but yeah, it did disappoint me because I usually do really like Penny Reed's books for the majority of the time. But this book felt like it had such a messy plot throughout the book. It had weird story beats. Like, it felt very off-kiltered, mismatched. Like there was supposed to be an order of things and then it got all mixed up and then she just left it like that. Like, I don't know. It just felt very weird the way that the story unfolded. I wish that there was a little bit more romance in this book as well. For being a marriage of convenience trope, I really was hoping for there to be more romantic tension, and I feel like she's done this a couple times in her books where it's been very noticeable. I don't like when an author has two characters and it feels like these two characters are about to like get it on. And I'm not talking about like this is just them kissing and making out, because you can write a scene where we're just making out, we're just fooling around, and there's no expectation to go further than that. And I like those types of things. I like that type of build up to the actual main event. But I feel like she's done it in a couple books before where it feels like these characters are about to get it on and they get interrupted. And it happens more than 3 times in the book, and I don't like that. I hate fake outs. I hate fake outs like that. That was one thing that I didn't like. I also didn't love how Abby, the heroine, really didn't have a good excuse up to a certain point to miss the clear signs that Rex was sending her about his feelings towards her. And I guess it was her low self-esteem that really kept her holding back, but I really felt like she held a lot of her emotions back from Rex, even towards the very end. There was a scene where I was like, what are you doing? Why are you, he wants you to go somewhere with him. This obviously means something to him, and you're choosing to be like, no, I'm fine here. And anybody with a brain could see how much it hurts his feelings, but she's just like brushing it all off, and it felt like such a weird move. And that's toward the end of the book, and I was like, wow, why are we not on the same page around this time in the book? So it was very lackluster, even though I was excited about a marriage of convenience trope with Abby having a crush on this guy. This guy, Rex, was her high school and junior high crush who appears in her bar. She's working as a bartender. He's incredibly successful. She's not successful. She's in debt because of her ex-husband and drama associated with that. And I really liked the beginning of the book, and the way that it played out just felt very weird. It felt very weird. Didn't fit with, yeah. Okay, and then I did put Twisted Cravings on here by Cora Riley. So I for sure did not love, I can't even remember what Savio's book was. I can't remember what Savio's book was called, but I will say that Twisted Cravings did not bother me as much as Savio's book did. But again, there was really nothing going for this couple. And I was expecting a lot because there was buildup behind Adamo's character. Adamo had done something in the previous books that was very traumatizing for a young boy. And he had the opportunity to go and be molded by Luca, who was an enemy to his family. But I was very, very excited to see what type of man Adamo would be, because we knew him as such a young boy, and I was very excited to see what kind of fucked up he was. And he just felt like a very placid character, and I felt like the majority of Twisted Cravings was focused on Dinara, who is the heroine. She is a Russian heroine, and I really didn't love the car racing scene. Like, it was very fast and furious, but without any exciting things happening to me. I don't understand the focus on Dinara as a character and her past trauma and what she needed to do to overcome that. Adamo just felt like an accessory to her story, and again, I did not feel the chemistry between those characters either. So that was a disappointing read. And finally, The Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare. Now, the reason why this book was disappointing to me was mostly because this book by Tessa Dare is the book that gets recommended to me the most. I've gone on record saying that it's really nothing particular about Tessa Dare's writing that I don't like, but every book that I picked up by her has not inspired me to pick up another one. I don't want to read Tessa Dare because it does not bring me the same joy as other historical romance authors do. Tessa Dare is one exception to the rule where I feel like I have a lot of similar favorites to everyone in the romance community when it comes to historical romance, but Tessa Dare is not one of them. Tessa Dare and another author are authors that just, they don't write the types of stories that stick with me, so I'm just like, why bother forcing myself to read a book that's just going to be meh or okay, or even just I don't like it. So I did not want to pick up The Wallflower Wager particularly, but it was voted on for Patreon, so I am forced to read some books that I normally wouldn't read. That was one of them. I liked the setup for this book. I really did. I liked the setup for this book. I thought it was interesting. In fact, the beginning with Lady Penelope and Gabriel was my favorite part of the book. The way that they met, it was very exciting to me, but there was something about the way that their romance unfolded that just was lacking a little bit for me. I liked Lady Penelope's character for the most part, but sometimes she could seem like just a little too quirky. And Gabriel's character was fine too, but yeah, overall, I can't tell you what it is about Tessa Dare's writing that just doesn't do it for me, but it's just, in general, her writing just doesn't do it for me. I don't know why. I just cannot get excited about her writing, and it's nothing personal. I mean, it's hard for me to pinpoint, like, why do I feel bored while reading Tessa Dare's? I don't know. But yeah, that one just, I feel like I need to reiterate. I've tried her again and again, and you can recommend me her books all you want, and I don't know, something just doesn't click with me. It just doesn't. I'm abnormal when it comes to the love for Tessa Dare. But I have tried. Anyway. Okay, so those are all the top 15 books that really disappointed me in 2021. Again, like I said, there were books that I DNF'd in 2021 that didn't make it on this list, but they were so forgettable that I'm just like, do I even want to talk about this? It was just so meh that I didn't care. I didn't have expectations for these books. So those didn't make it on this particular list because these are books that I feel like I had something to say about it. I felt either ragey or ranty or just like sad because it didn't turn out the way that I planned. So yeah, like I said, it's not that I rated these books the lowest of the year. It's that these books just didn't hit it with me. I will also be doing a video on my top reads of 2021, and I'm excited about those. I'm Pretty sure I have more than 15, but I don't want the video to be like too long, so I think I'm gonna cap it off at 20, if anything. So it won't be too much longer than this video. Let me know what your disappointing reads of 2021 were. I would love to know. I find it fascinating that some people's favorite books are some of my least favorite books and vice versa. Some of my favorite books are some people's least favorite books of the year. I just find it very interesting to see different perspectives, and that's why I love watching these types of videos. So if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to get notified in any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys.